Hello. So today, what I want to talk about is my diet and how I got to the point of deciding what I should and shouldn't eat. And this is not so much about me being just self-indulgent and talk about me, but more about showing you the process of how I got to this way of eating to help you figure it out for yourself. Because that's what I ultimately want to do with these videos, with whatever I'm doing, my website is not to say to you, this is what you should or shouldn't be eating. It's more about giving you a different way of looking at things, giving you tools to be able to figure it out for yourself because there is so much confusion in the world. It is so overwhelming when you try and figure out what is the best food for you to be as healthy as possible. Because ultimately, the question is what are humans designed to eat? What is a human specific diet? Because once we can all figure that out, then we are giving ourselves the best opportunity to be healthy from a dietary perspective. And by the way, I think that diet, or how we refuel and how we rest, sleep, reset, or how we recharge are the two foundational pillars for just fundamental health. Like, this is just basic health that every human is entitled to. So if you get your refueling right and you get your recharging right, you're going to have a basic level of health. Unfortunately, in our modern world, it we're not getting everything is working against us on both of those foundations. So what I want to do, what I've kind of stumbled on just through my own period of struggling with health and then managing to figure it out because my doctor couldn't help me with it and Google couldn't help me with it. I've managed to figure it out through myself just by changing the way that I think about food, and rest and sleep. So it was kind of like the tools that I've used and the tools that I encourage you to use are very simple, very straightforward. Honestly, it's so basic, but because of our modern world confusing us, we don't ever like think to question it. So it's very simple. Imagine that you woke up tomorrow in a cave, and it turns out that this world we live in today is just some crazy dream. Okay, and we have got no stores to go and buy food from. We've got no delivery service. We've got no electricity, no internet. I mean, how on earth did we survive? But imagine that that was the case. Now, it's a very simple question. If that was the case and you had to go and live off the land, what food would be available? It is as simple as that. Now, even with that simple question, I do appreciate that you get a room full of people and you're going to get one end of the spectrum saying, well, I think it's all plant based. You're going to get the other end was like, I reckon it's all animals, all animal based. And then you're going to get a load of people in between. And that's fine. Like, that is absolutely fine. My suggestion there is try it. If you want to be more animal based, then give it a go. If you want to be more plant based, give it a go. Just try it. But at least you know that those foods that fall into those brackets, they are all that would have been available. So if you try a plant-based diet and you are getting amazing results and you're achieving good health, crack on. But if it's not quite working out, tweak it. You know, the one thing that we can all agree on are the foods that would not have been around then. And it's obvious that some of those foods, are basically processed foods. Any foods that would have needed any kind of machinery or electricity or anything like that couldn't have been made by a human hand, right? Those foods would not have been consumed before. So logic at least tells me probably not good for us. We've never consumed them before, so why would they be good for us now? Now, some of them are very obvious. Sugary based foods, obviously, we all know they're no good for us. They just taste damn good. And that's why we give ourselves that little treat every now and again. But at least we know what we're getting ourselves into. It's the other ones, the ones that I think are so insidious, the ones that are packaged up as being like healthy, but I don't know, something doesn't sit right with me. I'm thinking like cereals or cereal bars, anything that's kind of like labelled as being um, as healthy or fortified in any way, against seed oils or vegetable oils and spreads. These sort of things, these are highly processed foods. We would never have consumed them before. I mean, come on, just a bit of logic. That's all I'm saying. For me, it's worked very, very well. As I say, I was ridiculous. 10 years ago, I was in a really bad place. Now I'm in a good place, health wise. So that's kind of like how I got to where I got to with my diet. Now, for me, when I think about diet, what we should be eating as humans, I do think that I do think meat would feature heavily on the menu. Um, our bodies are very good at digesting meat, at extracting the nutrients out of meat far better than plant based stuff actually. That it's I'm not, by the way, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not any kind of clever person, but there's plenty of evidence out there that suggests that. I don't think we can really argue that case. And for me, as I say, I eat a lot of meat. There are periods in my life when I've gone purely carnivore. I wouldn't say I'm carnivore now. I'd say I'm more carnivore-ish or animal-based. So my baseline of nutrients come from meat, and I do include organ meats in that because I do think that organ meats are the most nutritional. I don't think, I know they are the most nutritious food on the planet. Liver is just crazy, blows any kind of fruit and vegetable. Like we kind of been led to believe that fruits and vegetables, you need these for all your nutrients. It's just so untrue. When you look at the nutritional profile of something like liver or even like a steak or something like that, it is rammed full of so many nutrients. It's not just protein. Like that's what we've been led to believe. Meat is protein. No, meat is protein. Don't get me wrong, but there is so much more involved in meat. It is crazy. But for some reason, we've been guided down the path of you need to eat your fruit and vegetables. Now, that's not to say that I'm against fruit and vegetables because I'm not. I enjoy them. I don't eat fruit that often, but I do eat it from time to time. I do think that for me, when I think about as wild humans, certainly where I live, it would have been seasonal. They would have only been around, like certain fruits and vegetables would have only been around certain times of the year. Um, and also it would have been whatever was available in your area. Like all of this, go in the supermarket and have like literally every fruit and vegetable from around the world. We wouldn't have even been aware of most of those things. Bananas are so like normal to us now. We would not like bananas. I remember I know my kind of nan and granddad talking about when bananas were introduced over here, and it was like a crazy thing. Like we didn't know how to eat them. We would eat the skin of them because we didn't know that you had to peel it. It seems so normal to us now because they've been here for so long. But a lot, I would say probably 90% of the fruit and vegetables that we see in our supermarkets, we wouldn't have even known about. They wouldn't have been available to us, and they certainly would have been very seasonal. So for me, I will eat fruit and vegetables, but I'm I'm not. I don't make it a main part of my diet. It's complementary to my diet, and I will try to. I try. I live in a modern world with temptations, but I do try to keep things seasonal as well. So I will eat more fruit in the summertime when they would have been about, um, and then I will eat certain vegetables depending on time of year as well. So obviously, and it makes sense because if you're in the winter and you're having more, um, you know, stews or casseroles or maybe roast dinners would be more kind of like in the winter time. Those root vegetables and those sort of vegetables would have been around. They would become more ripe and available in the latter part of the year. It makes sense. whereas salad-based stuff would be more in the cooler times, in the spring, summer, sorry, in the warmer times when it's more refreshing, right? So it kind of fits. It all makes sense when you think about it in that logical way. So for me, I eat mostly meat, a lot of eggs, eggs as snacks, eggs as like to complement whatever meat or fish. I eat fish as well, but I don't eat a huge amount of fish. I think, unfortunately, there are a lot of heavy metals in a lot of fish, but I will eat some like sockeye salmon from time to time. Um, and and that, I mean, that is pretty much it. I've got a particular dish that I've called Jim Special, and it's very simple, right? It's no gourmet stuff, but it's essentially bacon fried up. Um, Throw in a cup of bone broth and reduced it down. Throw in some beef mince or ground mince, but with liver and heart that's been uh, mixed in with it and minced up with it. So you're getting your organ kick. So you've got bone broth, which is amazing. You've got beef with all of its protein and all of its other goodness, liver, heart, which are really, really good. And then I usually have some bone marrow as well that I cook up, and then I put that in there with it as well and mix that in. And then I throw 2 or 3 eggs in there as well. And if I want to treat myself, then I'll top it with some cheddar cheese. Now, that with some salt in, obviously, is to me is so basic. I cook enough up for that evening, and then next day at work, and it's really tasty. I really enjoy it. I eat that 2 or 3 times a week. It's packed full of goodness. It is so rammed full of goodness, so much more than a salad, in my opinion. In my opinion, that's the conclusion that I have come to through thinking that way, trying different ways. I've tried eating more vegetable based, um, plant based, but it didn't really sit well with me. Animal based, I just my brain switches on. I feel great. I feel amazing. Um, and yeah, that's what works for me. So that's how I want you to think about food. And just so you know that the food these days that we're told is healthy, that is processed, that you wouldn't have ever got before. I believe that this is essentially poison. I think it is poisonous food that we don't know is poison. It's like poison of the most insidious kind because it doesn't kill you there and then, or doesn't make you ill there and then. It takes many, many years. We can eat these foods for many, many years. We can go from a child and we can um, go into adulthood and seem perfectly healthy. And it's typically in the Middle Ages, in our Middle Ages, when we get to like 35 and onwards, maybe into our 40s, things start going wrong. But then we just go, oh, well, age is cool, I'll just work because I'm not eating differently, I'm not working out any differently, maybe sleeping the same, nothing's changed. Yet I'm putting on weight now, my knees ache, my blood sugar levels are getting a bit out of control. That is because the body has been dealing with this fuel that's not real fuel. It's not ideal for the human body, and it's kind of dealing with it because the human body is amazing, but it gets to a point where it's just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore, and it starts failing. We humans are not designed to get ill in our middle ages. It's just not the way it is. We are designed to be healthy until we get into our old ages, if we get there, because this is one of the things that I talk about with people, and I go, oh yeah, but we live longer now, and we would have lived much shorter lives. But yeah, okay, fine, but we wouldn't have died of um, you know health issues necessarily, unless it was like infection or anything like that. It would have been because we would have been hunted or killed, or if you become weak, if you're weak or you get injured, you wouldn't last very long. You would end up being hunted down by some other predator. Or if you injured yourself and you got infected, then you would die of the infection. But it wouldn't be because of ill health. That's just not the way it is. We are very privileged to be living in this modern world where we've got healthcare systems that can help us fight infections, and if we get injured, they're there to help us. Even if we have heart attacks and things like that, they're there to help us. And also, we don't have to worry about, we're very sanitary now, and we've got no danger of being hunted by a saber-toothed tiger. So we are able to live much longer, but we don't need to live into that old age unhealthily. It's not the way humans are designed to live. As long as we are generally alive, we should be able to live healthily. And that is by eating a human specific diet, sleeping and resting well. And that is it. So, what I want you to take away from this is just changing the way that you think about things in terms of food. Thinking, right, okay, what would we have, as humans, have eaten before this crazy world of today? As a hunter gatherer, a caveman, whatever, put yourself in their situation. What food would have been available? Or if you pick up some food off of the shelf and you're like, would this have been available? If it's a no, think about putting it back, Or if you don't, at least have the knowledge that, it's a treat, and it's probably, you probably shouldn't do it all the time, and it's probably not good for you, but you're going to allow yourself to do it this once. And that's it, really. So yeah, let me know how you get on. I'd love to know if you do adopt that way of thinking. If you completely disagree as well, I'm open to discussion. For me, this is what has worked, and I would like to think it would work for others as well. It seems to make perfectly logical sense to me. Um, yeah, let us know how you get on. I'd really love to know. And check out my other stuff. I've got a few videos up now. I'm planning to do one a week. So check out those, do whatever you need to do, subscribe, like. I know I'm all new to this. I don't, just the support would be amazing if you can share it. Yeah, let us know how you get on. See you later.